This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Lockdown Coverage Week number 5, the National Football League. Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! The Green Bay Packers taking on America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry's Boys, in a rematch of an epic classic in the 2016 NFC divisional round of the playoffs. Same crime scene if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Packers returning to the scene of the crime where they murdered the Cowboys' hopes of winning a Super Bowl last season in an epic game that came down to a Mason Crosby field goal. A lot of high theatrics and hijinks in that game, but it was a great game to watch. This game lived up to the hype that game left us with, and so this was a magnificent finish. When these two teams lock horns, we've seen some epic finishes, whether you go back about 3 years ago in the NFC divisional round, yet again, that time the Packers were at home at Lambeau in the Dez Bryant catch, no catch game. That was an epic finish there. Packers get the victory. Last year's playoffs, Packers get the victory with the huge catch down the sideline and an epic throw by Aaron Rodgers to Jared Cook Jr. that set up the game-winning field goal by Mason Crosby after the Cowboys had tied the game up with an epic field goal of their own after making a miraculous comeback, being down huge in the second half. But the Packers yet again get the win. And in this game, a great football game. Cowboys came out like gangbusters, taking it to the Packers early. But in typical Packers fashion, they hung tough, gave themselves a chance, and at the end made the plays that made the difference in this game, as Aaron Rodgers once again shows why he is the best quarterback in the league. Tom Brady is the best ever, but Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback currently in the league, if that makes any sense to you. And me and my dad had a debate, and we actually watched this game together, and he's a huge Cowboys fan. And I told him when the Cowboys took the lead in this game, 31-28, that I said, you are facing the wrong quarterback right here. And he said, I'd rather it be Aaron Rodgers than Tom Brady. Tom Brady, to me, is the best quarterback in this situation. I said, no, because Tom Brady can't run. Aaron Rodgers can, and he will. And he did that, and his run on a third down late in this game was backbreaking, and it was an epic finish in any event. Packers get it done against this same Cowboys team yet again in late come-from-behind fashion, 35-31 to get the win, get to 4-1 on the season. Cowboys, a debilitating loss. This one stings as they drop to 2-3 on the season. We'll talk about all the particulars on both sides from both teams here in a second. But if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. 2017 and beyond, we changing the game over here. No, seriously. We changing the game. I want you to be a part of it by simply hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. Already a member? Then you know what to do. You like this video. You share this video. You make sure you watch this video. And if you can, donate to the Louie T Network. That's the way you do it right there. The link is in front of you. The link is also in the description, along with my other social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, it's there, all in the description. So check the description of this and all of my videos out, where you will find a way to donate to this channel and also all of my social media platforms. With that being said, let's jump into this breakdown. Packers at Boys. This is a hell of a football game. We'll start with the victors. To the victors go the spoils, and we start with the Packers in this game. And I want to start on the defensive side of the football because Aaron Rodgers and company, they're going to get all the praise and accolades. But it was this Packers defense that I thought made some plays in this game, especially late. Early in this game, they did make a conscious effort to stop the run. And Ezekiel Elliott had no running room whatsoever early in this game. Mike Daniels being back in the lineup makes a huge difference. But they were also being ultra aggressive at the line of scrimmage. And I think we're seeing what a lot of teams are doing now with this Cowboys team is taking the blueprint of the Denver Broncos. And again, not everyone is capable of doing what the Broncos were able to do, which is, hey, look, we're going to put 8 in the box. We're going to run blitz the Cowboys. We're going to be over-aggressive, and we're going to play man-to-man coverage on the outsides. We're going to lock up your receivers, and we're going to put you in some third and long situations, and then we're going to play coverage, and then we're going to be a little bit more less aggressive. We're going to be a little bit less aggressive against you when you have to go long distances. We're going to make sure Dak Prescott is able to get outside the pocket and hurt us, and we're going to make him beat us from the pocket. And that's what the approach teams are taking now. We're going to stop Dak. We're going to stop the run game. We're going to stop Ezekiel Elliott. We're going to stop the Cowboys from being aggressive on the ground and controlling the pace of the game and controlling time of possession and keeping that defense that is very suspect off the field. We're going to make Dak Prescott beat us. And Packers took that approach early. The problem was Prescott was game, willing, able, and ready to beat the Packers early in this football game. The play on the first possession that he made to a guy that's really coming on for this Cowboys football team and Bryce Butler down the field. That's an amazing throw. Really not much you can do there. He's in the grasp of a Packer defender as he's throwing the football literally 35, 40 yards down the field, puts it right on the money. Clinton Dix right there, but not where he needs to be to make a play on that football. Turns into about a 50-yard gain or so, and that set up the first points of the game for the Cowboys as Cole Beasley would score the first of 2 touchdowns on the day. And so the Packers defensively could not stop the Cowboys from throwing the football. They did a great job of really shutting down the run game in the first half, but the Cowboys were making them pay through the air. This seemed eerily similar to the last game the Cowboys played in against the Rams the week previous, where they just couldn't be stopped in the first half. They got the football, they moved the football, they scored points. And whether it was a field goal or a touchdown, they were moving the football on this Packers defense in the first half of this game, albeit via the air, not really on the ground. However, in the second half, and I said this to my dad at halftime, I said, you guys look impressive right now, but the key is not doing what you did last week, not succumbing to the same fate that you had last week, which is dominate offensively in the first half, score a ton of points, look like you can't be stopped. And then in the second half of the game, you lose momentum. The other team's offense comes out, starts taking it to you. And all of a sudden now your offense is stagnant. You can't score points. You allow the other team back in the game. They ultimately take the lead and they find a way to win the game, which is essentially what happened. Now the defense, to me, got better in the second half from a passing standpoint, but they started to give up as the game wore on. And my dad said this, keep giving Zeke the football, keep feeding Zeke. He will eventually start to pick up yards. That's what happened in this game. Eventually, the Packers got tired defensively, and they started giving up yards on the ground. And I thought the Cowboys were able to get back in the game because the Packers started to take the aggressive approach. They ultimately took the lead in this game. They looked like they were going to be able to find a way to maybe even pull away from the Cowboys. And then they had a possession where Zeke started to run the football effectively, and that allowed the Cowboys to stay in this game, ultimately take the lead back in the game late on a Dak Prescott touchdown pass that gave them an opportunity to potentially steal this game late. And a couple of plays I want to talk about defensively for the Packers. The first touchdown of the game was aided on a personal foul penalty by Blake Martinez that I didn't agree with at all. Hit to the head of a defenseless receiver in the end zone on Dez Bryant. I thought that was just a garbage call there. And that would have forced the Cowboys to have to settle for a field goal. Instead, they get a first down there, and they ultimately get it in the end zone to Cole Beasley on the next snap. I thought that was garbage. Luckily for you, though, the football gods always rights or wrong, and they evened out the score later in the game on a play where Aaron Rodgers was contacted by the Cowboys when he was in the grasp. They called roughing the passer there. That was a crock of crap. That was not a personal foul penalty, and he was sacked. They called him in the grasp, which I didn't agree with that either, but nonetheless, that was at the 2-yard line of the Cowboys, or at your own 2-yard line, excuse me. And so you were in pretty bad shape there. You were going to have to punt the football most likely deep in your own territory, giving the Cowboys great field position. Instead, they called that personal foul penalty, and it changed the complexion of that series for the Packers. So, again, each team had their penalties kind of balanced out there, but I did not like that call on the Packers defensively early in this game. And then you lose Kevin King early in this game to a concussion, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, literally early in the first quarter. And so he was looking forward to matching up against Des Bryant. Really never got that opportunity in this game as he was gone early, and I thought that affected the Packers in the past game. Don't know how big of an impact Kevin King would have in this game had he played, or would have had he played, but nonetheless, you would have loved to have seen what he was able to do. But nonetheless, huge interception in the second half of this game. Ball goes right through the hands of intended receiver Terrence Williams into the waiting arms. And I thought Blake Martinez, him flashing on that play, might have made a difference. I think it was Blake Martinez, might have been Clay Matthews, either way. Him flashing on that play, whomever it was, may have distracted Terrence Williams. He's got to catch that football. He didn't. And it goes right into the hands of Demarius Randall, who's able to take it into the end zone for a touchdown. It was a huge play because at that point, the Cowboys had reassumed control of the football game by going down and scoring a touchdown and retaking the lead in this game at that point. And after that touchdown, that gave the Packers the score of 28-24. So they needed that touchdown badly, did the Green Bay Packers, and they were able to get that huge play there to change the momentum and swing the game back in their favor. The Cowboys were able to go down, and this is where you want the Packers defensively to dig their heels in and find a way to get a stop. It initially looked like they were going to get the stop on the 4th and inches. Did not agree with the play call by the Cowboys. We'll get to that when we get to them. But nonetheless, Zeke Elliott able to extend the football over the line to gain. It was initially ruled short of the line to gain. Packers are going to take over, maybe even win the football game on a defensive stop. Still had over 2 minutes to go. Cowboys still had 2 timeouts, so they may have been able to get their hands back on the football. But that would have been a huge play for the defense of the Packers if they were able to get that stop. But it was later determined that Ezekiel Elliott did, in fact, stretch the football over the line to gain. And so the Cowboys had a first down. You'd love to see the Packers get a stop in that situation. Instead, they give up the touchdown to the Cowboys in that situation, allow the Cowboys to take the lead in the game as Dak Prescott able to pull the football out on a read option. Beautifully executed by Dak, and gets into the end zone and leaves Aaron Rodgers, that bad man, a chance to go and steal this game from them with about 1:10 left and 2 timeouts, or excuse me, 1 timeout. And I said, that's not the guy you wanted. My dad said, Tom Brady scares me more. I said, okay, we're going to find out. And so that takes us from the defensive side of the football to the offensive side of the football with this Packers football team. You look at what the Packers were able to do in this game, and you start with, of course, Aaron Rodgers. And you know what? I don't want to start with Aaron Rodgers. I want to start with Aaron Jones, because he got the start because of all the injuries at the running back position. No Jamal Williams. He injured himself last week on Thursday versus the Bears. No Ty Montgomery. He injured himself as well in that same game versus the Bears. So here comes Aaron Jones in his first career start, and he goes out and he destroys this Cowboys defense. 125 yards or so on just 19 carries. Did get in the end zone. He was breaking off chunks all game long, was Aaron Jones. I thought he was phenomenal. And what he allowed this Packers offense to do was keep the Cowboys on their heels, keep them off balance, and allowed the Packers to remain balanced. Something they haven't really been able to do offensively it seems like for years with Aaron Rodgers, because of the lack of consistency at the running back position, they haven't been able to run the football consistently. They haven't been able to take that pressure off. In games like this where they score 35, Aaron Rodgers has to throw it 45, 49, 52 times. He's got to throw for 340, 360 yards and 4 touchdowns for them to even have a remote chance of winning a game like this. In the past, in this game, he only threw for 200 and some odd yards. He didn't have 40-something attempts in this game. He didn't have to because the run game kept them balanced, even late in the game. When they needed a score to win the game and time wasn't necessarily on their side, they still were running the football and running it effectively. And that is a testament to Aaron Jones, that offensive line, and Mike McCarthy sticking with the run. It was working, so that gave him a reason to be able to stick with the run. But we've seen this Packers team in the past abandon the run, even when it was working, most times when it is not. And so I thought the run game was outstanding and a huge catalyst to the Packers getting it done offensively in this football game. Rodgers, as I'm looking at his stats go across the screen, didn't even throw it 30 times in this game. And again, to me, that is a direct correlation and testament to this run game and Aaron Jones and what he was able to provide for this Packers offense in this football game. I thought he was phenomenal. You look at this Packers receiving corps and their skill guys. It was great to see Adams out there, Devontae Adams, after the shot that he took on Thursday night versus the Bears from Danny Trevathan. That was a big-time shot. And for him to play a week after that is phenomenal. And he was a huge difference maker. 2 touchdowns on the day for Adams. Jordy Nelson also had a touchdown in this game. It was very weird and suspicious late in the game on the final drive. Nelson was not in the game. I don't know if that was due to an injury or what happened there. But Nelson not being in the game in the most critical situation, most important drive of the game, lends me to believe that he was, in fact, not feeling well. I don't know the extent of an injury, if there was one that occurred at some point in this game or not. But nonetheless, Adams was huge on that final possession. Randall Cobb did a little something throughout the course of the game. Obviously, you would want to see more out of your tight ends, more out of Martellus Bennett, but he did have one good catch in this game and run on that final possession, as a matter of fact. So everyone chipped in, did their part in this game to help the Packers find a way to get a win. I thought the offense throughout the course of the day was really, really consistent. They stayed balanced. Early on, they were finding it hard to sustain offense, however, and get into the end zone, which allowed the Cowboys to kind of jump out to an early lead. However, they were able to, it looked like these two teams were going to go tit for tat early on. Cowboys score, Packers score, but Mason Crosby had issues making extra points early in this game, and as he missed an extra point and the Cowboys continued to score, the Cowboys started to gain a little bit of a lead in this game, but in typical Aaron Rodgers fashion, he kept his team close, gave them an opportunity. The defense makes a play on the pick six by Demarius Randall, gives them an opportunity. The defense can't get the stop to preserve the lead and ultimately the victory, but Aaron Rodgers and that offensive unit did have enough time to move it down the field. And that scramble on that third down, and let's call it about 8, by Rodgers on that final possession, to me was the game-winning play, because if he doesn't get that scramble and get out of bounds, I think they're going to end up losing this game. 4th and 8, I'm not in love with that. With no Jordy Nelson, I'm not in love with that situation for this Packers football team. But with Rodgers being able to get outside the pocket, elude a rusher, and then outrun Irving and get to the sidelines, pick up the necessary yardage, and then some, and then get out of bounds, stop the clock. Thought that was phenomenal on the part of Rodgers, and that's what separates him from a lot of the guys that we quote-unquote call some of the best clutch quarterbacks. I love Flacco in clutch situations. He's not doing that. I love Tom Brady in clutch situations. He's not doing that. Drew Brees is a guy you probably would love to have the football late in the game. Like, I don't trust Drew Brees to be able to run and extend the play. Aaron Rodgers is the best because of his ability to do things just like that. After that first down, they get 2 shots at the end zone. The first one to Adams, great play by Jordan Lewis to knock it away. The second one, they go right back at Jordan Lewis on the exact same play. This time Rodgers, instead of putting it on the inside shoulder, puts it on the outside shoulder and a little bit higher. Adams goes up, goes and gets the football, and that was your game winner. Phenomenal game by the Packers. Offensively, to get it done. Defensively, they did enough. They did just enough, but the run game was so impressive in this game. That was one of my biggest takeaways from this Packers football team, was the ability of Aaron Jones to maybe be the new lead dog. Again, Ty Montgomery comes back. He's probably going to be the feature guy, but Aaron Rodgers has been bragging on Aaron Jones all offseason, all preseason, into the regular season, and now we got a chance to see why. I loved Aaron Jones at UTEP. And now I think this guy is showing, and he caught it in this game as well. He can catch it. He can run it. I think they found themselves another weapon out of that backfield that all of a sudden now is very loaded and talented. If you can get Montgomery and you can get Jamal Williams back healthy, you've all of a sudden got a number of guys that can get you out of that Packers backfield. And so that was impressive by the Packers there. Mason Crosby's got to be better. He missed 2 extra points in this game. That could have been costly. It had the Packers chasing points at one point in this game, but luckily enough for him, the Packers made enough plays offensively and defensively to come away with the 35-31 victory in tremendous come-from-behind fashion. Another late game-winning drive for Aaron Rodgers versus this Dallas Cowboys football team. Sticks another dagger in their heart. You go to the Cowboys side of things, and this was one that they really needed to get. They were going into their bye week, and you wanted to go in with a little bit of confidence. And with the Eagles playing as well as they're playing, you wanted to try to at least keep pace. And put the pressure on the Eagles to continue to have to win. And with this loss, there's a little bit of a gap in separation between the Eagles and everyone else in the division for the time being. And I thought the Cowboys, like I said earlier, let's start on the offensive side of the football. I thought they did a lot of good things, similar to what they did last week versus the Rams at home. They looked unstoppable in the first half. They moved the football up and down the field as they so pleased in this game for the most part. They really gave themselves an opportunity in the first half to really win this game in the second half by coming out as aggressively as they did. Dak Prescott, despite the running game not really being much of a help in the first half, thought he did some really good things, extending plays with his legs. Obviously, on the initial possession of the game, that throw to Bryce Butler down the field, scrambling out of the pocket with a Packer draped on his legs, cutting it loose and getting it to Bryce Butler down the field. That's a phenomenal play. Finding Cole Beasley in the end zone twice, finding Des Bryant in the end zone once. All phenomenal plays by Dak Prescott in this game. I thought there was a connection with Witten in this game again because Witten, I thought, really was not a part of the game plan last week, which isn't something that we're accustomed to seeing. But he was back in the grand scheme of things. I think he was probably the most targeted Cowboy in this game. And on third downs, that's where Dak was looking to get the football, and Witten was a huge part of the offensive attack in this game. And so they were able to do some things in the first half. Still weren't really able to establish the run probably as much as they would have liked, but it did lead to them leading this game at the halftime break, and they were playing well. And I said to my dad, now the question is, and the key will be, can you sustain this for 4 quarters? You did this last week versus the Rams, where you came out, Rams couldn't stop you offensively. Maybe some adjustments were made at halftime. Maybe they weren't. Maybe the Rams offensively just were able to possess the football more and really kind of take the momentum away from the Cowboys offensively. Whatever the case may be, we saw what happened last week. Rams were able to come back, get that one. Same thing kind of happened here. Despite the run game kind of picking up in the second half, the passing game, I thought, took a step back in the second half of this game. They weren't as consistent. There were more punts. They weren't able to be as efficient on third downs. So they were giving the ball back to Aaron Rodgers in that offense too much in the second half, which allowed them to then start mounting a little bit of a comeback and ultimately giving them an opportunity to take the lead in this game, which they ultimately did before the Cowboys were able to mount a drive. And then you saw Ezekiel Elliott get going. You saw them starting to wear down this Packers defense. You saw them starting to be able to churn out yards and kind of control the pace, which is what this Cowboys team wants to do offensively. They were able to do that. They were able to take the lead. Probably the most back-breaking play of the game for the Cowboys. Similar to last week where you had a back-breaking turnover. This week, it wasn't on special teams. It was on offense. Dak Prescott throwing the football to Terrence Williams. Is that football a little bit behind him? Sure it is. But Terrence Williams has to catch that with his hands. He's a notorious body catcher. He loves to jump in the air, and he loves to catch the football with his body. If he can catch it with his body, that's what he wants to do. He wasn't in a position where he was able to get his body in front of the football, so there shouldn't be any of this going on. Should have been here. He went with this approach. Ball skips right through his hands, right into the waiting arms of Demarius Randall. And that pick six, to me, was the turning point because the Cowboys, at that time, with the football, with the lead, had a chance to not only burn some clock and really put the Packers in a bad spot, but they also had a chance to score more points. Now, again, they were deep in their own territory, and they might have went 3 and out. Who knows? On that position, or maybe they might have got a new set of downs after getting a first down and then had to punt. Whatever the case may be, you don't want to directly be accountable for 7 points going up on the scoreboard, which they were on that pick six. You want to at least make the Packers earn it in that situation, and you never know what would have happened on that offensive possession if it's not picked off, but it was picked off, and that was a huge play because it gave the Packers the lead, forced the Cowboys to then have to drive the length of the field to take the lead. And they ate up a lot of clock in doing so, and they put themselves in a position where a score was going to beat them at the very end, and that's exactly what happened. But why did that happen? Because of this defense. And make no mistake about it, the Cowboys offensively for the second week in a row did enough to win this game. You scored 30 in this league. You scored 31 in this league, as the Cowboys have done respectively the last 2 weeks. You are supposed to win. That is how this league works. You don't score 30, you don't score 31 in respective weeks and lose both games unless your defense is pretty bad, which is where we go to now with this Cowboys football team. The defense isn't good. And we knew this was going to be a young defense. We knew this was a defense that was going to have to learn on the fly with a lot of young secondary members. You get David Irvin back, and I thought he was outstanding in this game, and you see the difference that he makes up front. But nonetheless, the Packers were able to run the football at will in this football game. When you needed defensive stops in this game, you didn't get it. Most notably, the final possession of the game. At worst, in that situation, give up a field goal, force overtime. And with the way Mason Crosby was kicking, that was not a guarantee. If you force them to kick a field goal, you make some tackles in this game, you find a way to make the Packers earn it, instead of allowing them to get out of bounds on these catches and allowing Martellus Bennett to catch the football, break 2 tackles, and turn what looked like a 5-yard gain into a 15-yard gain. When you allow those types of plays to happen, you allow them to eat up chunks of yardage and get down the field quickly, and that's what they did, and they were able to get into the end zone and ultimately win this game. And you would like to see your defense step up. And even with all of the mistakes, even with all the chunk plays given up, even with Aaron Rodgers having a solid day, even with Aaron Jones, the Packers running back, going over 100 yards and having a stellar day against you, you had a chance to win the game defensively, and you couldn't get it done. And that right now is the most frustrating thing about this Cowboys football team. Last week, you had a chance defensively, with all the mistakes made in that game, you had a chance to get the job done. And you let the Rams not only score points to take the lead and win this game, but to get the first downs, to run out the clock. You allowed the Rams to control the game. And so that's probably the most disheartening part about this whole situation for the Cowboys is, no, the offense didn't sustain itself the last 2 games in the second half the way that it did in the first half. But they scored enough points, they did enough things to help you win this game, and the defense simply didn't do their part the last 2 weeks. And that's why the Cowboys are right now sitting at 2-3. If this defense were any good, and look, I've been telling anyone that will listen, this Cowboys defense isn't good, and it hasn't been good for the last 3 years. The difference the last couple of years is that you've been able to run the football. And 2 years ago, your defense wasn't that bad, but you were able to run the football. The problem was your quarterback situation was a mess. and you didn't have Ezekiel Elliott. And so McFadden, those runs that Ezekiel Elliott is able to turn into, a 5-yard run, into a 15-yard run, a 3-yard loss into a 4-yard game, and that 15-yard run into a 75-yard run and a touchdown, those guys weren't able to do that, and that's why you lost games that season, along with the quarterback position being as bad as it was. Last year, you get Elliott, you get Prescott, those rookies come in, they're sensational, and the offense controlled the time of possession, kept the defense off the field. They were always fresh and ready to go, and when they would step on the field, they would just have to make a couple of plays, and they were fine. This year, you're not controlling the pace, the time of possession. Its defense is on the field a lot more, and your end result is teams taking advantage of a young defense. And I will say this, I'll take it a step further. When Sean Lee is not on the field, this Cowboys defense is just different, period. You don't run on the Cowboys for 123 yards if you're Aaron Jones, if Sean Lee is on the field. Yes, he makes that much of a difference. I don't know if the Cowboys are giving up 35 to the Rams last week and 35 more this week to the Packers if Sean Lee's on the field. He makes that much of a difference. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But damn it, this defense is not the same. I repeat, not the same without Sean Lee. Facts. In any event, Aaron Rodgers, that bad man. He does it again. There goes that bad man, mama. There goes that bad man. He's a bad man. Bad man. And he was bad again against the Cowboys. And he hurts their head once again. This time 35-31 as the Cowboys drop to 2-3 with the loss. Packers move to 4-1 and start to establish themselves as one of the better teams in the NFC yet again. Let's get to any comments that may be out there for this game. Answer a few of these, and then we'll get out of here. Andrew Kim says, man, a late stream. I'm down to listen some writing. Rodgers is one bad dude. That he is, indeed. Reese says, I've never seen anything like Aaron Rodgers, Lou. He continues to amaze me week in and week out. Greatest pure passer in NFL history. I think a lot of people would agree with that. His ability to throw on a run is what really gets me. His accuracy, the tight spirals, just how good he is in and out of the pocket, I think is what separates him from most NFL passers currently. Andrew Kim said Whitney Merciless is out for the season with a torn pec. Yep, I saw that after I ended the stream, and so that's a huge blow to that Texans football team. Reese said, I used to be really hesitant to crown Rodgers as the best quarterback in Packers history because I'm such a Brett Favre guy, but it is what it is. A-Rod is the man, no doubt about it. Your boss says Packers look really good without their two starting tackles. If the Packers team is healthy, do you think they can beat the Chiefs? Yeah, absolutely. I think they can beat the Chiefs. I think the Packers can beat anybody. I told you I'm biased when it comes to the Packers because they got Aaron Rodgers. And with that man healthy, they got a shot. Despite all the injuries, every week he gives them an opportunity to get the job done. And so you know how I feel. I'm bullish on the Packers every single year. Even with all the injuries, it seems like they incur every single year. Aaron Rodgers gives them a shot. And so I'll always think that the Packers have a shot to beat anybody because they do, because they got a quarterback that gives them a shot to beat anybody any given Sunday. Cloud says, when I said it was a great day, I didn't just mean our winning versus the Cardinals. I also meant the L the Cowboys took. Yeah, I mean, it was just a fun day. It's always nice when your team doesn't play. There's not that anxiety of, oh man, we need to find a way to win. It's just good to just sit back and watch everybody else play and not have to worry. And so, yeah, it was a good week of football for me too. Vincent Coe says, Aaron ain't enough. Now the Packers pull up with two Aarons now. Yeah, man, one ain't enough. Hey, once was nice. They thought it was so nice, they decided they'd do it twice and pull out another Aaron, man. And now they got one on the ground and one through the air, and that's scary, man. It can be scary. Cloud says, never leave number 12 time on the board to be clutch. I told my dad that. He wasn't trying to hear it. I said, hey, look, man, there's a lot of 12s out there that can hurt you, but I think this one in green and yellow might be the best of them all. And he showed that today. He showed why I feel like he's the most dangerous quarterback in a situation like that, because not only can he hurt you with his arm, he can hurt you with his legs as well. And he hurt the Cowboys on a 3rd and 8 in that game in a crucial, critical situation with his legs. That's tough to defend. Mind Draw says, really enjoyed looking at the young cornerbacks in King and number 27 for the Cowboys, Jordan Lewis, who I think is going to be a stud for them moving forward. I've been saying this all year long. To me, he's their best young corner. They got a lot of young guys in that secondary, but I think he's the best of that group. But we'll see. Time will tell who is going to be the best. But Jordan Lewis, I think, will be a really good player for them in Dallas. He says, as well as Aaron Jones for the Packers. He was very impressive in this game. Reese says, I call myself the world's biggest Brett Favre fan. Are you a Brett Favre guy, Lou? How big of a fan were you of his, if at all? I like Brett Favre. I just liked his enthusiasm for the game. But Brett would do some dumb stuff, and that's the reason that he would turn me off sometimes. I just loved Brett because he would never give up on a play. He would always try to make something happen, and he had the arm to do it, and his zest for the game. He loved playing football. One of those guys, he scores a touchdown, he's running all the way down the field and picking up his receiver after they score a touchdown. I mean, he just loved the game of football, so I loved watching him play. That being said, with every great play that he would make, there would be a boneheaded play somewhere around the corner, throwing across his body, throwing into double coverage, and putting his team in compromising situations. So I love Brett Favre, though. I love watching him play. He was fun to watch. Cloud says, is your dad a Redskin fan? No. I am the only Redskin fan in my family. Everyone else is a Cowboys fan with the exception of my one of my sisters. She is a Falcons fan. Everyone else is a Cowboys fan. So, no. My dad is not a Redskins fan. He is a Cowboys fan. Reese says, are you happy for Jalen Smith? Lou, he's doing his thing out there. I know you're a Notre Dame guy. That's why I asked. Yeah, I'm happy to see him come back and play. He plays for the Cowboys, so obviously that puts a little damper on it. But I always wish anybody well in the league, and especially if you come from Notre Dame. And I got to watch him play for the Irish, and I thought he was an outstanding football player. And I wish him nothing but the best, except for when he plays against the Redskins. And so it's good to see him back on the football field. You never want to see a guy lose the ability to earn, especially in college before he even sets foot on an NFL field. So I was just glad to see him get a chance to get out there, and glad he's out there making plays and allowing himself to earn for his family. So yeah, I'm always rooting for Jalen Smith, and for that matter, anybody that comes into the league. Like I said, I always like to see the young guys do well, man. It just so happens he plays for the Cowboys. So in any event, that's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. Packers get it done. 35-31 in a fun one to watch. When these two teams lock horns, it's always a ton of fun, man. And can't tell you how fun it is to watch these two teams play, because normally when they go against one another, it's going to be high drama and fireworks late. And it's usually going to result in a Packers win. And can't say that I'm upset about that. And so if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. I thank you for joining me on this lockdown coverage. Got more breakdowns to come. A lot of football took place today, and I was able to watch a ton of it. So I'll be back with more breakdowns. Packers get the win on the road, 35-31, in come-from-behind fashion as Rodgers finds Devontae Adams with about 10 seconds left in this game with the go-ahead touchdown as the Packers come from behind and win 35-31. Cowboys drop to 2-3 on the season. Meanwhile, Packers take sole possession of first place in the NFC North Division at 4-1 with the victory. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. I'll see you a little bit later on. Much more lockdown coverage coming your way for week number 5 in the National Football League. I'll see you soon. Have a good one.